Alright, welcome to another Destiny video that I figured I'd film while I am downloading the patch for Season of the Lost, which I'm sure will both be in the copying phase for 20 minutes, and then servers will probably be offline for 20 minutes, at least maybe an hour, we'll see, a couple hours, who knows. Par for the course for season launch, and probably more so today with a particularly hyped community after the Witch Queen reveal event, which was earlier today, just a couple minutes ago, well, like an hour ago now. And it was about 30-35 minutes of a few different videos, kind of combining Vidocs and trailers and gameplay reveals and stage presentations, even though it was all pre-recorded. It was mostly a look at the Witch Queen, with some stuff about Season of the Lost in there, which is launching right now. But the Witch Queen got a release date, which is February 22nd, 2022, the 2/2/2/22 date that everyone was predicting. So that's not too bad. That's kind of what I hoped and thought it would be. So that means this upcoming season is about 5 months long, which, we did for Arrivals, and it wasn't perfect, but it's okay. And this season does sound like it has a good amount of stuff coming, both with the base season, but also there is obviously a anniversary event coming, which is a kind of significant thing that we haven't seen in a season before, and that's like kind of it's not its own season, but its own kind of mini thing that is going to add a good amount of stuff to that in the future here. Witch Queen, I tried, man. I really tried to get to all this without things being spoiled for me, but I'm just so online and so integrated into like all aspects of Destiny online that all it takes is a tweet or something, or something being sent to me to kind of ruin things. So it was very cool to see all this stuff in action. It's just that some of it was not a huge surprise based on previous leaks and stuff that had been shared with me against my will for the most part. And then things that I didn't think were necessarily true did turn out to be true. So one thing I did not have spoiled for me was I did not know the location. That is not Old Chicago, as I have been predicting forever, as have a lot of people. I think Bungie may be using some of the concepts from Old Chicago, because we're still in kind of a swampy, overgrown zone here, but this is actually Savathun's throne world, which does not uncoincidentally look like Fundament, the Hive homeworld, or it's very kind of, Fundament's like essentially just a big ocean, but this has some aspects of that in there. I'm looking through some of the press materials. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. It's like, we don't exactly know how big this is going to be, but there's like a swampy section. There's like kind of a fortress section that reminds me a little bit of the Red Keep kind of stuff. And then in the background, at least, I saw a giant ruined pyramid. I don't know if that's just background decoration or if that's something we can go into, but that would be very cool. And then the main thrust of this expansion, as previously hinted at in a very fuzzy leaked image, is that not only Savathun has a ghost, but she has found an ability to, at least in her throne world, steal the light for herself and give it to the Hive. And this has resulted in kind of a new class of Hive that is able to wield the light. Not only that, it's not just like they can revive, but they kind of just, and they're Hive guardians in that they have Arc, Solar, and Void powers, and we saw like a Hive acolyte or something like throwing shields and like ricocheting it off guardians to kill them. We saw fire knives, so these are similar powers than the ones we have now. There are stand-ins for there's like a Titan-looking one, a Warlock-looking one, and a Hunter-looking one. I don't know if these are the only three new enemy types that are coming, and I don't know exactly how they will work, like to fight in combat. Like, how do you avoid a Hive that is constantly supering? How much damage does that do to you? I have many questions about this concept, but it sounds cool, and it was certainly that cutscene where Savathun is sending out the ghosts, and the ghosts are all raising the Hive from the dead was really cool, extremely well done. And then we'll see how that kind of manifests in combat. We saw one picture of the Guardian like squeezing in combat, squeezing a ghost to destroy it. So I assume it won't be like you only need paracausal bullets to kill ghosts or Hive ghosts or whatever. I think that it'll just be sort of a different combat mechanic where maybe if you don't kill them in time, they revive, which I can see how that could work in combat. Also about combat, we got a new reveal of a new weapon type, which was spoiled for me like an hour before the show. That was like one of the few things I didn't know until a certain someone who will remain unnamed posted it on Twitter, and I saw it that way. That is a glaive, which is kind of a big spear-ish weapon, but it's got a larger like blade head. In my second book, Hero Killer 2, the main girl wields a guando, which is like a Chinese glaive essentially. So I was very excited to see that. This is interesting. So I've been predicting, a new melee weapon type forever. What I was not predicting was that this would be not a third-person weapon. It's actually a first-person weapon, and it's in the energy slot, not in the power slot. So you can shoot off an energy blast with it, and then also spin it around and poke things and whack at things. So I am curious how a first-person melee weapon is going to work in Destiny, if that will feel good or not. It looks really cool. And in the screenshots, it looks awesome. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. If we were kind of predicting new enemy or new weapon types, this is not something I would have guessed. So I applaud Bungie's kind of ingenuity here in terms of getting that out there. And then that was used to debut weapon crafting, which is something that the Destiny community has asked for to a certain extent for a very long time. And while details are still sort of murky about this, the general idea seems to be that this will allow a greater sense of customization for your weapons. We don't know if it's like if the whole like perk system and setup is changing, like exactly how it works. Like we haven't exactly seen the UI for this, so we don't really know what will happen there. And yet this does seem like it will be some sort of degree of control over your drops, and it will be combat focused, they said. So like the more you use a weapon in combat, the more you'll upgrade it. Before, I assume this will be an evolution of the Destiny 1 system, which was just like weapons drop with no perks active, and then you grind to unlock the perks. That was just a whole lot of grinding on top of like essentially the current system we have now. So I have to believe it's going to be kind of more nuanced than that. And thinking about it that way, that makes me very excited because I think we're all a little tired of solely relying on pure RNG endlessly for certain drops. And I think the idea of kind of farming your way to exactly what you want is a very good idea. So I'm very excited about that. In terms of other stuff for the Witch Queen, I have confirmed with Bungie that there is a raid. They kind of just mentioned it for 2 seconds in passing, like you can craft raid weapons, and then they moved on. I don't know if they showed any footage of the raid. It's hard to tell what you're seeing and what not. There was one shot of a 6-man fire team, but I've confirmed yes, there is a raid with Witch Queen, even though it wasn't really discussed very much. And then one interesting thing is that there is a deluxe edition, which comes with 2 other dungeons. That's going to be, I think, a little controversial, because I think the prices on the deluxe edition are a little hefty, and keep in mind we're still paying for seasons as far as I know. So they're paywalling individual dungeons now, which is, I mean, I don't know. For me personally, like I have always said that I think the amount of content you get in seasons are almost underpriced. This may be sort of a correction to that. So if you just really, really love Destiny so much that you are dying for 2 new dungeons, you can do it that way. And then these are going to be kind of doled out over the course of the year, I think. So we're going to have a raid with Witch Queen, then I think a dungeon, then I think either another dungeon, and then they mentioned a remastered raid. Also, I assume that's going to be King's Fall. It's like the most popular raid they haven't done, so I would believe it's that. Technical difficulties, I lost my light, long story short. I guess that's ironic for this expansion where the Hive are getting light, but you can still see me, right? So it's fine. How's our download doing? Almost there, 5 minutes left. It's only 4.5 gigs, but PlayStation Internet is very slow. Okay, so moving on past the dungeons and the raid and stuff for Deluxe Edition, I think this is kind of a mixed bag. So the bad news is that there is no Darkness subclass coming for the Witch Queen. Everyone figured that since we're in the swampy green looking thing, there's going to be some sort of green poison decay whatever subclass, Hive Soulfire, what have you. And Luke Smith has said in the past there will be other darkness elements and subclasses coming. But we have to keep in mind that it took 6 years for Destiny to give us Stasis, the 4th element, and they are still working on that kind of. So I guess I am not super shocked when I step back and take stock of the fact that there isn't one in another year and a half or so. Like, I guess that's not great, and yet I sort of understand it from the development side. So instead what they're doing is something that is probably also a good amount of work. which is they are updating all the light subclasses to get on the aspect and fragment system. So the first one of that's gonna happen every season, I think. So that will be at least 3 seasons worth of stuff. The first one, Void, is coming with the Witch Queen. They gave like a little teaser of just like I think there's going to be a ranged Void melee. So it seems like it's not just aspects and fragments. It's fundamentally altering some aspects of the classes themselves. This could result in new supers. This could result in a lot of things. So this might be a pretty extensive thing that, even if it's not, a new darkness subclass, which would be cool, it's still going to be something pretty significant over the course of the next year. And then maybe next year for Lightfall, maybe that's when the dark subclass is. One kind of general thing they said before I get into Season of the Lost stuff was that this was going to be, they named the last expansion that they hadn't named before after Lightfall, which is the Final Shape. But then they said like that Destiny 2 wouldn't be over after that. It was just the final chapter of the Light and Dark saga. And like they specifically said Destiny 2, so I do wonder if they are going to keep building on Destiny 2, it's just going to move into a different phase. And by Destiny 2, that would mean like not a Destiny 3, or not just like dropping the 2 and it becoming Destiny, by itself forever. That might change by the time we get, another 2.5 years into this when all the expansions are out. But that was something that I kind of noticed that was a little unusual. So I'm curious kind of what to make of that. But we know we have 2 more confirmed expansions. I don't know what the schedule is going to be. It's a little hard to tell these days. I know Bungie wanted to get out of the very crowded fall release window. And so if we are going back to kind of a yearly cadence of release, we could be seeing something in like, winter, spring going forward. I'm not really expecting any more fall Destiny expansion, so I guess we'll see what happens there. But and then we got a good amount of stuff about Season of the Lost, which I don't know if it's worth talking about too much stuff for that, just because we are literally about to launch the season right now and find out a lot of stuff for ourselves. Just briefly, they did confirm Mara's coming back. They showed Petra and Uldren and Osiris in the storyline. And they didn't say it was about breaking the curse, but like we're trying to, quote, guide Mara's people home. We're spending a lot of time in the Ascendant Plane, which is cool. And I assume that's where kind of this is going. They also mentioned that this would be our first time interacting directly with Savathun, so we might actually see her in this season. And then there's going to be there's an exotic trace rifle that used to belong to Uldren. There's some sort of arbalest looking thing that I think is in the season pass. And then those are the only 2 we know about. Maybe there's a secret one. It's a 5-month season, so who knows. And then a couple interesting things happened at launch here where they announced that in addition to anti-cheat going live for trials, which you can now farm for completions and round wins instead of just wins, and there's a solo queue. They are also banning account recoveries, so you can't do those anymore. That's a bannable offense, which is going to make a lot of people happy and a few very loud people mad. But that is not something they announced that they were planning to do. In terms of also not announcing things, I have not heard anything about Vault Space. At the time I'm recording this, I don't know if that's increasing I don't think it's doing it for this season, but even for the Witch Queen. And for the Witch Queen, I did not know, they would not say whether or not they are vaulting stuff for the Witch Queen, like a zone, like the EDZ or whatever. But the implication is that probably that is still happening. It's just like a negative thing they didn't really want to put in the showcase, I'm guessing. And then the interesting part of this season is also that there's a Bungie 30th anniversary event that's going to be later this year. And that is going to be kind of a significant, there's going to be some free stuff and like a new event to take part in. I don't know if it's replacing the Dawning or not. It might be. It's around the same time, I think. But one thing they are adding is a new dungeon set in the Cosmodrome. And you will get a couple old weapons, but also Gallarhorn from that. They're bringing back Gallarhorn. And it's a little weird because they have some Oni and Marathon themed gear. Like there's a Claymore, there's like a new sword you can use, and some other something. But what there is not is any Halo stuff, which I told you guys. This was a very big part of the famous Pastebin leak where there was all this information about that there was going to be all this Halo stuff as part of a Bungie crossover. And what I can say about that is that, well, this person, very likely an ex-Bungie employee, or having outdated information in the sense that I think there were talks for that once upon a time, and that is something that people wanted to happen, but then the talks did not pan out and materialize, and so we have an anniversary edition without any actual stuff from Halo itself. So that's kind of a bummer, and yet the anniversary edition as an event seems pretty cool. So, whatever, I'm okay with that, kind of in the grander sense of things. Like, if things don't work out, they don't work out. It's a long ways to go in the future, and, Microsoft's always being buddy-buddy with everyone, so we'll see what happens in the future with that. And I wouldn't rule it out forever. I just knew that there wasn't going to be anything today, and it does not seem like anything is planned for the moment. In terms of other stuff, I don't know. I think it's so hard to remember literally everything. I was just doing this all from memory. I didn't even look at my article for it, which I probably should have. But I think those are the kind of major components of this. And the release date is sooner than I thought, which is good. And then now we are going to just be diving into Season of the Lost, and there will be a whole other bunch of content to produce for that. But I would say that the show lived up to expectations for me. I do wish that very large chunks of it hadn't been ruined for me previously through various leaks, but there's just been so many and such a high volume that it's been impossible to avoid. There are still more leaks to come, because a lot of what was talked about in them is for stuff like kind of over the next year. So we're not done with this yet, unfortunately. So keep avoiding them if you can. But that is something that bums me out, and yet I still think this event was very fun and very cool, and something that has energized the community and something to walk away from positively. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get started on the new season. I am heading out of town tomorrow night, so I will be missing most of the first week here. I'm going to get as much done as I can, but I will have a video tomorrow, but then I probably won't have another video till Sunday or Monday, depending on when I get back. So that's why I'm gone. It's not that there's nothing to talk about. There's going to be a lot to talk about, but that's where I'll be for a little while. And so for now, I'm going to see if the servers are working and see if I can jump in here and meet the queen and whatever else is going on. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.